And welcome to today's episode of Reigning Woman. Well, it's not a very good time in history, nothing much to celebrate as the world and Kenya deals with the coronavirus as a pandemic. And this evening we take the opportunity to educate ourselves, particularly on how to handle the situation now, because so many people have a lot of information that they're consuming and a lot of information is thrown left, right. What this has caused is some sort of panic, and parents who are in the house together with their children might be tempted to act beyond just putting their children together in the house and maybe self-medicate. Well, are there dangers towards that, administering a drug? We already know that particular drugs have been mentioned as drugs that can be used to control coronavirus as a pandemic. Mothers do care too much about their children and they may be tempted to administer this at home. We have a Medy Wellness coach in the studio, a psychologist and a nurse as well, Edith Aura. And we'll also be talking about wellness. How do you achieve wellness during this quarantine? Difficult situations and different situations are put together under the same roof in the house, psychological, social, and emotional. How do we get to the point where now we have a harmonious wellness, where now we can actually live to the end of the quarantine period? Welcome once again. My name is Corazon Sefan and this is Reigning Woman. Do call in. The call-in line is right at the bottom of the screen. 22047 is the SMS line at TV-47 KE on Twitter and on Facebook as well. Karibu sana, Edith. Najua kwamba it's a difficult time, honestly. There's a little energy, you know, to laugh and to be happy, but I hope that you are okay. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Right. Let us hit it on the self-medication bit of it before we talk about wellness, because I know there's so much that can be done to achieve wellness before we end up talking about medicine. But hey, I've seen chloroquine mentioned, I've seen ARVs mentioned, different medicine that apparently can control the situation. What about all this?
What I can say that the panic is not only onto the patients and to the well people, is also in the scientific world.
Right.
So researchers have been found like kind of off guard. And so everybody's trying what they can to really make sure that they can bring up something on the table. And the fact that there are medicines up there doesn't really mean that it's an official regimen that is being given out. Yes, because we find some countries are talking about chloroquine, some are talking about Piriton, some are talking about ARVs, everybody's talking about something.
There's a tweet that came from Donald Trump himself, and he said hydroxychloroquine and azithromycin taken together have a real chance to be one of the biggest game changers in the history of medicine. The FDA has moved mountains. Thank you. Hopefully they will both work and be put in use immediately. This was from Donald J. Trump, who's the president of the USC. Such information, how do you think it lands with the people, and what are the risks of this information being consumed in a way that can be harmful?
That information and all other information, when it comes too much, you know, right now we're receiving a lot of information just like being pumped like every minute. If you turn on, you'll always find something new. What is happening is that because people are in the panic mode, you tend to receive everything and you decide this is the right thing. So every minute you're saying it is the right thing, it's the right thing, the right thing. Chances are you're not taking into consideration to think if this medicine is working, and yesterday they gave another medicine regimen, is it working for all of us? Because we know that the same treatment cannot work for all of us. So it's unfortunate, but it is also good. And it is but I know that the information being given out is not meant to be given to the general population.
All right, there should be a limit.
The information is out there, but everybody needs to go through a system. Even medics can't treat themselves. Even a medic has to go to another medic to be able to assess the symptoms and then be able to come up with a rational diagnosis and a rational treatment regimen. Otherwise, what you'll do, like you feel mercy for yourself, and so it's easy for you to overload yourself with medicine. So I believe there's nothing much you can do about in this era of social media, a lot of information coming in, but I think we need to choose just what to consume.
All right. So this is not supposed to be consumed by a parent and then the parent then acts. If I decided right now, I'm a mother, I'm concerned about my children, watoto huwezi kuwashikilia kwa nyumba, they want to go and play with the neighbor, and you don't know what they're going to pick, and you know very well this pandemic is here with us. Should I choose to give my child something like chloroquine, just as I think they call it prophylaxis, so that they are probably more prepared with their immunity? How would that work? Is that dangerous?
I think that is a dangerous way to look at things, because I remember when you were talking about the care for children, that was in the other segment, I talked about parents being just staying put if they know that their children have gone through the immunization schedule. If they already had these immunizations, I don't think you need to panic, because medicines like chloroquine, they were long banished from this country. We don't see them, we don't prescribe them in the normal. So if you're going to pick at this point, is the parent going first of all to go to a medical school to learn, or are they going to Google? Or I mean, it's too much. I think it's good to hear the information if you must hear, but don't act. But I think if their children are sick, when they go to the doctor, they can ask the doctor, I've also had this, what do you think? Instead of them taking the initiative of buying the medicine and keeping them in their houses.
All right. And how about as adults? Right now, something else is happening. I don't know whether it's a coincidence or not, but I've met 1, 2, 3 people who have a flu, and it looks like just ordinary flu. And we have other sorts of medicine that we've been taking to control the flu. Is it the right time to continue treating something like a flu, self-medicating? Or is it the point right now that we need to be thinking of screening and testing even when we have basic flu?
When you talk about basic flu, what does it mean?
It means you have a running nose, it means you have a fever, you know, and these are, well, symptoms that are not so far or different from the virus that we are handling.
Okay, so ideally before the coronavirus came, how are you treating that flu? You see, those are the things that people need to ask themselves, because the tendency is, even when people have a flu, there are 2 categories. They're the category that doesn't go to hospital when they have a flu, from time immemorial. The people who go look for herbal tea, they look for tangawizi, they'll have a lot of water, they'll boil either oxtail, put in paper, you know, do all those funny things, cocktails at home, and they take and they... The
traditionalists actually even say changa helps, you know.
People have different ways to do to manage their flu. And then there's a category that goes for cetirizine. There's a category that goes to hospital. So depending on these categories, I think people need to sober up and ask themselves a basic question, which I like asking. Before you think you want to buy a medicine against an infection, is this infection viral or bacterial? Because if you're rightly saying that I have flu and you're buying an antibiotic, so where is the meeting point? Because
the flu is viral and it has no treatment. The body needs to adjust so that the body fights it on its own. And that is the same case with the coronavirus, isn't it? So what happens in the case that somebody has flu that they consider basic flu, because they have a running nose, they have a basic headache, maybe no fever? Should they go to the hospital or work on their immunity?
I think at the point where we are globally, it's very hard to tell people to be contained in the houses. But basic things first. You have a flu. Sometimes you start a flu in the morning. Sometimes you start it off in the night. You don't just run off. Always best things, always maintain rest. Ensure that you're resting enough. Ensure that you're having a lot of hydration, just enough water. Don't take too much water, but at least if you normally take 4 glasses, because we talk about 8 glasses, which not many people take that. Some take much more, some take much less, depending on their occupation. So what I can say is ensure there's enough hydration, ensure that there's enough rest, ensure you're eating well, lots of fruits and vegetables, ensure that you can actually look for some vitamins. The things just the ordinary things, and then ensure that you have your hygiene. Remember what we say, that if you feel like you want to sneeze, let it be an automatic reflex. You sneeze into your flexed arm.
Right.
And if you're sneezing, then just use tissue papers. That's actually where tissue papers are coming in, so that they are easy to use and easy to
dump. So you sneeze into a tissue paper?
Yes,
right.
or into your flexed arm, and then discard the tissue paper in the right place.
Okay.
Don't just use and throw it here, because if you're throwing it to another place, even if it's common cold, you're going to transmit it to everybody else in the house.
All right. Yes. I'd like us to talk a bit about traditional medicine, also as self-medication. There is history of traditional medicine and the time that Ebola struck. But before we do that, this is a Reigning Woman on TV-47. We're talking about the dangers of self-medication, and this is before we get into wellness and how to achieve wellness in general. If you have a question for nurse Aura Edith, who's also a Medy Wellness coach and a psychologist, then please call in. The SMS line is also right there, and the call-in line is at the bottom of the screen at TV47KE on Twitter and on Facebook. The dangers of self-medication, especially in this moment that we have panic and enough information to be consumed on social media as well. We as Africans and Kenyans are not left out in this. We have our own way of treating different conditions, especially in the moments that we have doubts. Herbs and stories are told the days that Ebola struck in different countries. Other people went to herbalists, and not knowing that these herbalists had also been infected, so it spread even faster because people resorted to self-medication that they were used to instead of listening or paying attention. Are we facing such a danger potentially?
That is very that is like the automatic reflex. I talked about the three categories. There are people that run to herbs. There are those that run to rest, just conservative in the house, and there are those who run to hospital. So if you're a person who runs normally to the herbalist, even in this time and season, that is what people are going to do. But ask yourself, when they're running to the herbalist, you find the concoctions there. Where are they packaged? They're just out there in the dust, or maybe they're exposed, and you know that any cold or even the coronavirus, you see, it is spread by air, by droplet infection. So if it's spreading over them, and the person is picking the same herbs and giving them to you, then if there's been another client ahead of you, or clients who came ahead of you and had the virus and they've sat there, what has happened? You're just picking even when you didn't have, because you're talking about disinfecting our surfaces. So in an ideal hospital, there's disinfection that goes on, especially that's been heightened for such a time as this. But if you go to the herbalist, for heaven's sake, there'll be no disinfection. So the issue is, even if you didn't have, and even if the herbalist didn't have, then the presence of other people having come in contact and sneezed over, and it's enough. Right. The good thing is that the virus doesn't stay long, but the issue is our motions, our hands. If the hands are all over, you pick and you put them on your face, you touch your nose, you touch your eyes, you touch your ears, your mouth. So those are things that are easy just to, they're things that we really need to deal with. Even
because it's highly contagious.
Yes.
You know the reason why I think this is a concern, because I know the moment this thing lands in mashinani, which definitely it's penetrating into the warmth of mashinani, the things like common cold, watu wanajua ukienda kwa yule mtu ama yule mama mzee mkongwe, you're going to get this concoction and that concoction that is going to treat this and that. They actually believe that there are particular concoctions that boost immunity, and such people are going to come up. And I know at some point maybe they'll come up with the idea of making it as clean as possible, making the environment as clean as possible. If they try to make the environment clean and do away with the element of passing it on, would it still be wise to go to herbalists for this?
I wouldn't think it's wise. Yeah. One, because we are going to infect that herbalist. The herbalists are just, they're people who've been given and endowed with a knowledge. God gives knowledge to all of us, and some have perfected it by going to medical schools. But there are those ones who are just herbalists from the village, but they do things with that endowment, and they're able to do. But are they aware that they're supposed to do this heightened hygiene levels? That's where the mess comes in. But every
should the hygiene and the contact element be lifted? This kind of self-medication, would it be wise? Would it be prudent? Unajua Afrika tuko na njia zetu. We are going to get there.
Unfortunately,
right.
There's hardly much you can do about it. But I think people need to have the information and know Right now, at this time, I think just go to the right facility.
Go to the facilities.
Just go to the right health facility, because
Right.
because infecting that herbalist is the biggest thing.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Children are left out, and before we actually move into wellness as a whole, children left out in this conversation in a big way. And there is information that has been put together so that if your child is watching at home, then this is a moment to call your child and actually sit the child down, because they may not understand really what coronavirus is about, and some of them still want to be kissed, they want to be touched, they want to be held and hugged, even when the mother is coming from outside. But here, take a look at this graphical explanation. Child who needs to understand what this is will then understand that coronavirus and the flu have similar symptoms. And if you have a child, muite karibu, so you can actually take the child through this graphical explanation of what coronavirus is. I love to travel and to jump from hand to hand to say hi. Well, the truth is, dear child, or dear mom who's explaining to the child, is that this is a contact game. The moment it is in the hand as a virus and it gets in contact with another hand, then the other hand definitely picks the virus up. Oh yes, have you heard about me? Is it a yes? Is it a no? Well, and how do you feel about this? Well, some may feel sad, some will feel relaxed. Are you scared? How exactly did you feel when you heard about coronavirus? Because the truth is, children are afraid and are scared. That information is not very well explained to them. I can understand how you feel. I would feel the same way too. Well, this is a time you can actually draw the little virus. If you have a piece of paper and a pen, you can follow this with us at TV-47KE on Twitter and on Facebook and draw the little virus. Sometimes adults get worried when they read the news or see me on TV. If you see mommy or daddy watching TV and they are afraid, it is because this virus has shocked everyone in the world. Globally, it is a new virus. But I'm going to explain myself. Coronavirus says COVID-19 it is, so you can understand. Well, COVID-19 is the situation that happens from coronavirus. When I come to visit, I bring difficulty in breathing. That is a symptom. I will come with a cough. That is a symptom. I will also come with a fever, which can be measured using a temperature. And as you can see, there is a picture of a thermometer. But I don't stay with people for long, and almost everyone gets better. Now we know globally that each and every person, not each and every person, but there are a number of people, quite a number of people who've actually been cured, including a 103-year-old woman in China. Don't you worry, the adults who take care of you will keep you safe in case you find yourself with a shortness of breath and with a fever and the cough, and they tell you that now you have the virus. Don't you worry. You know how you can help? By washing your own hands with soap and water while singing a song. Which is your favorite song? You can tell us that by using a hand sanitizer and letting it dry on your hands, because that actually kills the virus. Well, don't you worry, there is a lot. Doctors are working to find a vaccine. There's a lot that is happening. So you don't worry. Eventually, you'll be allowed to say hi without getting worried or without getting sick. And this information has definitely been approved. Thank you very much for staying with us. We still have Edith Aura, who's a Medy Wellness coach, psychologist, and a nurse as well. We'd like to take a short break, but we'll be back and we'll be looking at how to achieve wellness during this quarantine together with your children, psychologically, emotionally, and if there is particular foods that you can include in your diet to achieve this as well. Don't go too far. 2, 1, guys. All right, welcome back. You're still watching Reigning Woman here on TV-47 with me, Corazon Stefan. We were talking about dangers of self-medication, but because we have a Medy Wellness coach in the studio as well, Edith Aura, and a psychologist, we'd like to talk about achieving wellness during this quarantine time. And the reason why this is important is before you resort to medication or medicating yourself, is there something you can do to achieve a proper level of wellness that you don't get to the point where you panic or you feel like you need medicine? 22047 is the SMS line, at TV47KE on Twitter as well as on Facebook. All right, Edith, this is a complicated time, and I say this well with confidence because not so many people have a lot to smile about, clearly even on social media. Psychological and emotional wellness is very important, but before we get to that as a bigger chunk, food, is there a level of wellness we can achieve with food?
A lot of it. Thank you so much. Food is actually our first medicine, because food is a social event also. When people have food together, you know that it keeps the bond alive, and people talk more. And why I say it's a social event is like if a child is alone and you give a child the food and no one else is eating, the child refuses. Or when you sit together as a family, then the child knows, oh, so food you're supposed to eat together. So even in such a situation where people are feeling sad and people don't know what to expect, there's that panic that is there, I think we need to focus on our food. Because then with this body is actually, they survive on food. Right. Yes. Well, so it's important to have good food.
That too we say cautiously, because we know that there are people who at this point may not be able to achieve, to get food, you know, proper food or balanced diet as it is. Psychological wellness. There are people who are in abusive relationships who have to deal with their partners right now. There are people who have children who have disability, who are used to a particular routine, and now they have to be in the house. Is it possible to achieve a level of psychological wellness with different challenges?
I think all things, when you put energy into it, it's achievable.
Right.
Why am I saying this? Because for maybe the last 5, 10, 20, 30 years, we've lived in a different system. Because I think the last time there was anything similar to what you're going through was 100 years, and I don't think many of us, there are people who are still...
That was in 1918.
Those are many years ago. So we've never seen anything like this.
Right.
And current now, we have been living in a different lifestyle, where we woke up in the morning, took breakfast, or ran to work, the children ran to school, and we met in the evening. And mom came with food, maybe from the kiosk or daddy or somebody, and they was cooking, and then do the homeworks, and then we'd sleep, and tomorrow the cycle continued. Suddenly, we are facing an imminent lockdown. We've seen it has happened in China, it's happening in Europe.
South Africa.
Already South Africa is there. We can already see even African countries, actually, the lockdown, there's actually no activities there. And some countries you see like India, or they already have a curfew from 6 in the evening to 7 in the or 8 in the morning. So we know that we too are facing there. And so I think we need to just settle back and start thinking. Instead of that energy that we are spending and thinking on how many tissue papers you're going to buy and how many antibiotics you're going to buy, I think we need now to look into ourselves and say, we are getting into this situation, because I know some people already are not at work. So even if they're out, it's not because they're going to work, but they've been told work from home. And I think we need to look into ourselves and ask ourselves, not even before we think about the family, think about your personally, yourself personally. How about myself? How have I been living? You know, when you've been going out every day and suddenly you're not going out, day one, you're busy maybe cleaning up some things. Day two, you're thinking, oh, we're supposed to have the sanitizer, we're supposed to have soap, we're supposed to have that. So you're doing a bit of skipping. But now thinking about this is going to be a 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Wuhan is 5 months down the line in lockdown. So as you're getting into this, I believe we need to harmonize ourselves with reality and say, this is me, Edith. And I've been going out every day, I've been busy every day, I've been doing for everybody. But when did I ever sit down and look into myself? When did I ever just sit before my mirror and laugh to the mirror and say, yes, laugh with the mirror, cry and talk to the mirror and talk back to yourself? When did I ever do that? When did I ever just sit down and do makeup and just make my hair, not going to the salon, just making my own, myself, when did I last read the last book in this house? Where did I put my last novel? Just thinking about yourself, first of all, as a person, and be able to look back and ask, and even put an audit. How many friends do I have? Yeah, I think this is a time of just walking into our own lives, reflecting as a person. So let every person just look back and say, so I am a Muslim. So when was the last time I went to the mosque? I am a Christian.
But this can be very risky, because now this is you facing the reality of what you really are. Isn't it possible that you can wake up demons, things that you've been trying to run away from?
No, we have to start there.
But what happens when those demons? Because the reality is psychologically, and I think we've had a conversation such as this, though out of set, is that at some point people run away from the things that really they're supposed to handle, you know, and they don't seek for counseling. And now in this moment, now they have to walk into themselves and face themselves in reality. Isn't this going to wake up demons?
I don't think it's going to wake up demons, because the issue is, at one point or the other, we'll have to come into that reality.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. It's good just look back and see. So where have I done right and where have I messed? And then and trust yourself. Take a deep breath and say, okay, so this is me and this is me. Right. So the good things I've achieved, I'll make a tick, and these ones I'll work on it. Because if you're able to work out on yourself and see, I've been having 5 hours in the house or 6 hours in the house, now I have 24 hours in the house. How am I going to make it better for this 24?
Are we not going to need counseling, you know? There are people who may end up needing counseling.
Everybody needs counseling, and that's why when you cannot need counseling if you don't know that you need counseling.
Right.
So it's that going through to yourself and seeing, this is what I've been able to do, this is what I think I need, and I've been surviving because I've been passing through point A and point B, and we talk and chat, and by the time I come back to work, come back to the house, it's 9, it's 10.
Shouldn't we then have services, you know, counseling services distributed just as the hotline numbers, you know? It might end up being something that people need as much as they need food. People have to face themselves. We have to work out that very fast, like yesterday. Yes.
Because you see, like in the US already, that's what they began doing. Okay, currently I'm also running services online. You know, if you want to talk, just call me. We can do a video call. I mean, that's now what people are doing.
Right.
And so we have to think about that way very fast and think. So even if you're not going to get out, you know who your counselor is, you know if you have a mental illness, you know that you normally take your medicines, you know where you normally go.
Right.
Keep those numbers into your diary. Just diarize them and know that if I'll need help, I will call.
Right.
Because you have to be well, then to be able to now reach out to your children and your family to support. Because you said some people are in an abusive relationship or in an avoidance relationship.
Yeah, and now they have to face what is going to happen to these people.
Because now we have to realize that we have to be to understand that because you're no longer going out and the four walls are the ones that are containing us, we have to learn to relearn the behaviors that are not good. Unlearn the bad ones and relearn the good ones that are there. Because I know at one point you met with a relationship and there was some laughter. Look back. And try to get the good out of the
But Edith, how is this going to happen when people are just now the two of them in the house? So it's just the family. You know, in a conventional setup, there's a support system, there's a support network, there's a social events that you can attend together. Is it possible to achieve this when people are now forcefully, I mean, like not forcefully really, but deliberately quarantined together? Is it possible to achieve?
We are much better because we have seen things happen in other countries.
Right.
We have China to look at, we have Italy to look at. We are able to see it's happening. So it's going to be much easier for us because, as I'm saying, if you know the helpline that you've already been having, keep them because you will need them. And those of us who are out there who've been helping people, kindly let's just be ready to help more because it's going to be out, it's going to be chaotic. It doesn't mean that the counselors or the psychologists don't need help. We all need help, yeah, because you know that the WHO says 1 in 4 people will have a mental illness at one point or the other.
Right.
Meaning at any one time, 450 million people globally are going through an intense
And this might be the time now we see that 1 in 4 people actually, that statistic come out. Is this now an official call out to psychologists and counselors who are out there to come out and provide these services online, digitally, electronically? Is this an official call out?
Yes. To me,
yes.
I can make it that. I don't know if it's Oh, no one is talking about, but I'm just saying,
Right.
I think that is the way.
Would you confidently call upon them to do the same?
Yes, because that's the way out. Because remember that people who are already having emotional challenges or mental challenges, they enjoy more when they're enjoying the air out, when they are walking around. There's some freedom. Even if they've gone through a hard time or a situation like this of getting bad information, then you'll see them. The coping mechanism will be walk out. They walk out, they stare to the sun, or they just breathe in the fresh air, and then they're able to recollect what they've said, and they come back and say, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. But now
they have to be in the house.
But yeah, there might not be that chance to get out. You understand? So it's going to be more tight. But if everybody understands how where there are triggers, then it's much easier for them. Because you see, you can be, you may not be mentally ill, but you're emotionally unwell.
Right.
Because then the information that we have, we are unable to process it nicely. We are getting too many information, and that's why you're having the confusion, the panic buying of things. It's because people are already too overwhelmed, and they cannot sit down still with themselves and have a conversation with themselves and say, okay, this is the situation. Is coronavirus getting me alone, or is it global? Is there anything I can do about it? No. Or is there something I can do about it? Yes. What can I do? I can lock the house, I can do this and that. Being able to make that conversation is very important. It just shows you're healthy. And that's what you need to have, a balance. Being able to say, yes, this is a situation that is there. It's not me alone. It's not in my house. I'm not under a curse. It's a global thing.
It's a global thing.
And so meaning that if other people are coping, if you're having 450 million people at any one time globally going through a stressful time, then it means I'm not alone. So we can make it. Just need to balance and see, am I responsible for this? No. So if I'm not responsible, I don't need to worry about it. I can breathe in and have enough rest and just take my medications, or just rethink and look for the good in this.
All right. And I think this takes on the person who is near the person who needs psychological and emotional support.
Yes.
But then again, we have people who live alone, Edith.
Yes.
All right, but I'm told before we get to that, let us take a short break. We're talking about achieving wellness in this moment of quarantine. Well, because besides the temptation to actually administer drugs, is there something else you can do to psychologically, emotionally, and physiologically achieve a level of wellness that may not lead or that will prevent you from getting to the point where you feel the temptation to administer drugs? This is a TV-47 Reigning Woman. Before we get in too deep, let us first have the headlines for tonight's bulletin.
Visa zaidi vya korona vyadhibitishwa nchini, idadi sasa ikifikia watu 25. Ni afueni kwa familia zilizopoteza wapendwa wao baada ya kaunti ya Nairobi kuondoa ada katika hifadhi ya maiti kwa siku 7. Na katika kaunti ya Busia, watu 6 waliosafiri kutoka ughaibuni watengwa kufuatia hofu ya kuwa na virusi vya korona.
All right, that is tonight's bulletin. Upewa TV-47, usiambiwe popote. But we're still going on with Reigning Woman here on TV-47. We're talking about the dangers of administering drugs. But Edith Aura, who's a Medy Wellness coach, a psychologist and nurse, tells me, Corazon, before you get to the temptation to administer drugs, there is a level of wellness that you can achieve. How exactly do we achieve it? At TV-47K on Twitter and on Facebook, hashtag Reigning Woman. Do ask your questions or shoot it on 22047 as the SMS line. All right, Edith, we have talked about the people who are close. Well, 1 in 4 people have chances of experiencing a mental breakdown or mental illness at some point, according to World Health Organization. But then there's a support system you've mentioned.
Yes.
How about those who are alone? Because we know that they're single independent people who have run to work each and every day. Now they have to work from home. Is there hope that they can be saved from a mental breakdown? Because these are the people who might end up administering drugs.
I'm a very hopeful person, and I believe that there's hope, because it's not as bad as when you didn't have communication, and that's why communication is something that is key in wellness. Besides just eating well, besides having maybe enough fresh air and resting well, and doing exercises, there's that communication, that ability to communicate. And that's why I said, if you have a helpline out there, there's someone you've been seeing, kindly keep talking. You don't have to, maintaining the social distance, you're able to talk on Skype, on SMS, on phone calls, on WhatsApp calls. Do it whatever avenue that is available for you at this particular time that you are getting into, because this is a very different life. But it's also a good one, because you can. This is the times when you can actually call your doctor and he can tell you what to do, so that ask and find out if the appointment can be done. Because these are not the times when you just walk out and say, I'm going to the hospital, because in an impending lockdown or in a lockdown, you might not actually get that luxury of going. You have to be very specific that this is the time I'll reach there, to minimize the time that you're out. So yes, there is hope, because it doesn't matter whether you have 1,000 people around you. If you are unwell, you must be willing to be helped.
Exactly.
If you're not willing to be helped, or you're with people, if you want to commit suicide, you will commit suicide.
You've mentioned, social interaction digitally, meeting your counselor digitally, reaching out to Edith because she's availed herself online. But then this come at a cost. We have people who might not be able to meet this cost. There are other ways that they can keep themselves mentally balanced. You mentioned books, actually. Is it an effective way?
Everything works different for different people. Some people, they are wired to get relief when they read a book. Some people are wired when they sing. Some people are wired when they play the instruments. They don't even need to have the guitar. They can beat anything in the house and just feel good. Some people are wired when they do games. They have maybe the small balls, the soft balls, just dribble them. So I think there are many avenues out there that people can turn to, because everybody knows what depresses them. There are people, if they get to hear bad news, they get depressed. Some people, if they see you happy, they get depressed. So we know triggers are very different for everyone, and solutions are different for every person. Yes, concerning the online services, there is a cost, but I don't think that, like I'm not only a psychologist, I'm also a medic, I'm a nurse. And I think our ethics, in our ethics, we always put life before money. So yes, I think they
can reach out.
Yes,
just
yes. People should not be afraid
look for some
that.
Bundles and airtime, and reach out to somebody, so that you don't break down. And this is the moment to sing. If you love singing or make poetry, actually people have to walk into themselves. There is another concern that is very heavy on mothers, especially because it's known, well, mothers take this more hard than the fathers, taking care of children who are disabled in this moment. There is always a routine and a structured way of life for them, for instance, the autistic children, and now they have to have a different kind of life. Well, what can they do differently? Is there something you would propose so that they don't have a mental breakdown, so that things don't, explode in this moment?
I think it's tough already, even for the other times, but maybe it might not be as tough as we think, because maybe previously they've been juggling in between, going to attending the clinics and being with the child and being at home. But now one has been relieved. So they are able to be the child at home, to be able to contain to some level. And now when everybody's in their home, I think moms needs to utilize every person in the house as resources. Just making everybody know, this is what your sister or your brother is not supposed to have. This is what works for your child or for your sister. So I think involving the rest of the family in the care, now that they are not all of them to school, because I know when moms are faced with one child who has a disability, then everybody takes off. The dad takes off to work and the other siblings go to school, but now all of you are in. So I think the issue is about coming together and seeing how best can we work for this.
Can we handle this?
Can we handle this?
Just so, because I know also time is not on our side as such. Is there anything that can replace physical activity when engaging this special people? Because at some point, what works or what was medically proposed was physical activities to make sure that they're psychologically engaged. Is there anything else that would psychologically work in the moment that now physical activity is not possible?
I believe physical activity, you mean outside?
Yeah, outside definitely. They'd go swimming, waende kucheza na nani, warushe mpira pale. Now lakini sasa lazima wakue hapa. And especially the autistic ones, you know, they can be very active and energetic. Ni vipi utafanya tu akili ya mtoto itulie? Is it possible?
You remember when you're talking about the care of children in this pandemic time,
yes.
we said reorganize the house. So as parents, I said it is more of a parental issue than even the children's issue. So reorganize the house. Whatever looks like breakable, can we keep them away? Whatever unnecessary things that are in the house, they can either be destroyed or taken out, so that there's that freedom. Because I think what irritates them is when they get obstructed on the way. They were running this when they're seeing something, so that angers them or brings an irritation on them. So I think
feature kila kitu, make the house doable and runnable.
Yes, just do what you're able to do, but please allow that space and rearrange. Because sometimes what you keep in the houses are really that container of lotion that you bought when you were 20 years and now you're 70 years and you're still keeping it. So some of the things actually just needs to get gone.
Right, so that there's enough freedom.
There's enough freedom for everyone.
All right, as we come to the very tail end, I believe I only have a minute. What would be your last words on achieving wellness psychologically, emotionally, physiologically in these times that are, well, probably we hope it doesn't get harder, but it looks like it's getting harder on us. And again, since we talked about the dangers of self-medication, also on self-medication as well. What are your final words on this?
I think at this point you want to talk about communication.
All right.
Keep your communication lines open. Keep them open to God, to your spiritual leadership in terms of have spiritual meditation. Open the communication to the people around you. Open the communications to people outside there who can help you, so that way you're able to send out a signal, and I believe it will work well, because then you realize you're not alone.
Okay, there are other people around you.
There are other people
and
around
you've also said that you're available online. Anyone who wants to reach you for counseling services, and you said life first before money.
Oh yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Edith. What was wasichukue chloroquine wapatia watoto?
Wasichukue chloroquine tafadhali, kwa sababu haitafanya kazi. In the first place, it's not even there. People are buying medicine in droves, and I don't think it's right. Because an antibacterial a virus responds only to antiviral, and a bacteria responds to antibiotics. So buying those things will not work.
But we can continue taking our vitamin C's and probiotics. We can
continue taking everything.
The yogurts and the oranges and lemons. All that. Well, I have some idea at least. Thank you very much, Edith Aura. This has been The Reigning Woman with Edith Aura, who is a medic. She is a nurse, Medy Wellness coach, and a psychologist as well. All this is on information, is on our timelines at TV-47KE on Twitter and on Facebook as well. The conversation goes on, and she has promised that she will be available online for counseling services should you need such services now that you are quarantined at home as a couple or as an individual. Thank you very much once again. My name is Corazon Safan. I'd like to wish you a good night. Take care of yourself. Don't get out. Save your life and save the lives of other people that you care about. Good night.
Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos. Follow us on other social media handles. Medy Wellness cares for you and your family.